If you think that you can trust the coworkers you work with, I want you to think again, because you would be sadly mistaken. Truth be told, the employees that you work with, your coworkers that make you feel like you can trust them, because you guys have shared some things that only you two, as far as you're concerned, have shared between each other and no one else knows about, or so you think. Those very employees, they cannot be trusted no more than the employers they work for. They're just as mischievous, they're just as conniving, they're just as cutthroat as these companies they work for. And when it comes time to being chosen between, but when it's between you and them, when there's a situation or a scenario that comes up where it's either you gotta go or they gotta go, trust and believe me when I tell you, they will throw you under the bus and they won't even flinch. And they will act as if they don't know anything about it. Like they're just as surprised as you. So I want to talk about today in another crazy episode of my corporate chronicles, okay? My crazy corporate chronicles from my 30-year career. I have worked in corporate America for 30 long years. And in the tenure of my career, prior to going into entrepreneurship and firing corporate America, hiring myself in exchange for my freedom, I have gone through some major turmoil, okay? I've had some great times. I've had some good jobs. I've had some really great jobs. And I've also had some jobs that were just like, wow, I can't even believe that's my story. But it is a part of my past, and the past is the past. But I want to share these stories with you because I really find that when I share these stories, it helps you if you're in a situation like this. If you've gone through something similar, I want people to know they're not alone. I want you to know you're not alone. You are not alone in this fight, in this struggle. And I know women like us, especially if we are melanated women, brown-skinned women, women of color, right? And women collectively over 42, we go through some challenging times, but particularly women of color. And if ageism plays a part, age is a problem too, right? So, the truth of the matter is, and I just realized that my notifications were on, so let me go ahead and turn that off really quickly so that I can have a conversation with you without any interruptions. In case someone decides to call me, give me 2 seconds. All right, I think that's all we needed to do. And so what I need you to know is that you're not alone, okay? We're in this journey together. I truthfully believe that these jobs, not only are they not loyal, but they are just not out, they're not looking out for your best interest. So let me just take you back to about I want to say between 10 to 12 years ago, when I was working in a corporation that I was super excited to get hired into, by the way, okay? This company was a prestigious company, well-known company in the healthcare industry. And most of the jobs I've had, to be quite frank, have been, for the most part, companies that are Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 50 companies, very well-renowned, prestigious organizations that if I were to share the name with you, you would be like, wow, really? This is how you were treated there? Wow, okay. Like, I didn't know that about them. Yeah, well, so I'm going to be sharing with you in my Corporate Chronicles series, particularly in this episode, what happened to me when I actually got hired into a position where it was considered not so much like similar to a case management role, okay, but it was really like a pilot program. This company hired me into this pilot program that, by the way, this was their third or fourth time around in doing this. And they thought that it was going to be successful this time around, okay? They tested some things. They realized what didn't work before. They realized, what they may need to do differently now. They tweaked some things. They got different staff, different people on board, a different team to be a part of this pilot program. And then they started reaching out to people, recruiting them, right? Nurses and pharmacists and therapists like myself to do a role that was pretty much a telephonic position. I won't give too much of the details of this role away, just because if anybody sees this video who happened to work with me before, back when, I don't want to pinpoint this particular job or this particular organization by giving away too much detail around the job, okay? But what I will say, is that I was really excited about it because this had been a company I was pursuing for a while. Okay. And it was a very challenging to get into a position with this company. Why? Because they were just one of those corporations that really made you do a dance to their tune, jump through hoops, okay? Go through all of this rigorous process for hiring purposes. And they may or may not, you got to take tests, you got to go through rounds of interviews, panel interviews, meet with the staff, meet with the team, meet with the director, do presentations, showcase your skills, demonstrate your abilities. I mean, it was just, they were doing the most, okay? And many corporations are doing that these days, and still they may not hire you. You may not even hear from them after the fact. That was initially the case for me, but I don't take no very easily. And so I pursued this company. Once I knew I had a toe in the door, I'm like, oh no, I got to get my foot all the way in. And sometimes, man's rejection really is God's protection. And I should have looked at some of the red flags that were already there that I didn't really pay attention to, or kind of like excuse them. You know how we do that. We see the red flags. We kind of get a sense or a feel. Our senses are up, our guards are up, we have a level of awareness. We feel like something might not be right. We can't quite pinpoint it, but we still go along with the program because we need the job. We're so super excited that it's this particular role that we wanted, that we pursued, that we went after. And now we have an opportunity. We're not going to let that opportunity just go by the wayside. Okay. Right. So that was my story at the time. And the fact that I finally even got anybody to pay attention to me and pull me into an interview, several interviews, in fact, and then to advocate for me to get into a position they thought I would be better qualified for, which was this pilot program position. So I was like, okay, I'm in, I'm about to, yes, this is what I'm talking about. Okay. This is the kind of position that this is going to be my dream job. Well, it turned out to be a nightmare. Okay. Let me just tell you that right off the bat. So what had happened is I finally got the position. I'll kind of skip through like some of the, rigorous process that occurred as far as the hiring process is concerned, but I got in and I was really excited about it. So, okay, now I'm meeting the team, we're going through the orientation process. I'm getting acclimated to my role. I can't wait to start. I'm going to be talking to patients over the phone, helping them with their healthcare issues. And as we were going through the training, I noticed there were some major issues, okay? Some red flags, and really notable red flags. Not necessarily just with the process, because those are things that can be worked out, right? But more or less it was about what was really wrong was who they had overseeing us as nurses, right? The people who they were credentialed professionals in the healthcare arena, but they weren't supposed to be overseeing nurses, okay? Like, it was just not sitting well with me. But I wasn't really pushing the agenda at first to like kind of give them a lot of pushback. I was asking questions. I was being inquisitive. I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel quite right to me. Why are we doing things like this? Can you explain the rationale behind this, right? What is the reasoning for why we're doing it this way? I was offering solutions. I was saying maybe we should get somebody in position who actually is credentialed in an area where they can oversee us nurses. And then this other group of credentialed healthcare professionals need to be overseen by that type of individual or healthcare professional with those credentials. I'll keep it like that, okay, just to kind of keep it vague. So, excuse me, it's getting a little warm in here. Let me roll down my windows. Okay, so what had happened next is they, as in leadership, weren't really receiving the information well. First, they seemed like they were, right? The whole gaslighting, right? They first make it seem like, okay, this ain't really happening. No, it's not what you think. No, it's not that, right? And then they start to act like they're really listening and they want to, they really want to retain you. They find you as a great asset. They don't want to lose you. They want to do whatever it's going to take to keep you on board. What can we do? That whole shenanigans. Okay. They have these conversations with you and make it seem like or feel like they're actually listening and receptive and going to make some changes that need to be made. when really they're writing you out, finding ways to write you out of the picture as legally as they can make it, even if it's illegal. Well, so let me just say, getting back to how this ties into a coworker, because that's what we're talking about today. Coworkers you can't trust even when you think you can. This is the one and only time I made this mistake. It never happened before, and it had never happened since. Okay, now, I started my business right around the same time, and I'm 9 years in now, but at the time I was still working a full-time job and had not yet weaned my way out of corporate America and bought my freedom. Okay, so I decided, you know how you like hit it off, so I met all kinds of other nurses and therapists and doctors and everybody and people who were on the team, and I got along with everybody. I get along with people. However, you know how you just take a keen, sometimes you either take a keen interest in someone or they take a keen interest in you. You get to talking, you realize you're a lot of you have some similarities, a lot of commonalities, maybe, a similar background or what have you. For whatever reason, you guys, hit it off and you become like buddy. So we buddied it up. Like, we were the newest on the team, as far as the nursing team is concerned. This individual, though, had happened to already work for this corporation for some time already. She was a nurse practitioner. I'm an RN. We both were clinicians, and we had some similar backgrounds. And so, as the newest on the team, the new kids on the block, if you will, we wanted to pair up so we can, work together, learn together, grow together, and build together and lead together. And we just thought this was the most fascinating type of position. It was a very interesting position, very unique. So we were all for it. We weren't trying to give too much pushback, but she kept being the ringleader when it came to, this ain't right. I've seen this before, and I've never seen anything like this before. Does this feel right to you? And I would say, well, no, it doesn't feel right to me. I've asked questions. When we're in the meeting, I'm not trying to make too big a deal about it, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel right, and I don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize our license. We work too damn hard for these nursing licenses. We sacrifice too much. We neglected families and our own needs to get this license. Like, we're not going to do anything to jeopardize our license. So we were in cahoots. We were on the same page, right? We were feeling like, no, there's no way we're going to just jeopardize our license, period, point blank. So now, mind you, this was probably the second job, and I've only had maybe 2 jobs in the 30-year tenure of my career, this being one of them, where we were protected by the union. But we didn't want to go there yet. Like, we're not trying to make waves. We're brand new. We're thinking we can just kind of talk through this. They're asking for our opinions. They're seemingly open to what we have to say. They're making some changes. They're saying, don't worry about it. We're still working through the kinks. We appreciate your feedback, and if you want to continue to give us your feedback, we're taking all of it into consideration. Okay, great. So next thing you know, we are we're working in the office sometimes, but we started to get, there wasn't any way to any office space where they could actually literally physically place us. So I'm like, okay, so before we came on board, you guys hadn't figured out where we were actually going to physically be working. So they had us working from home, which, okay, cool. I'm all about remote work. I felt good about working from home. I'm like, if we can do this even part-time, I'm all for it. No complaints here. But what ended up happening is they kept calling us in and then letting us go early, or we would call in and see where we were going to be working that day, and then it was like, well, why don't you just stay home and practice this or look over this, or go into the central location. I forget what they call it, but it was like a central hub that you can go and do some study work on site, right? Where the corporate headquarters were. You could go into this space and do study groups, or you can work on some of the tests. You can do things that were still work related, but you didn't have a place to actually start working. So I just thought that was odd. Anyways, it just kind of went on this way for quite some time. Now, it came to a point where we were just like, there were just too many things that if we didn't like push back hard, we actually could have jeopardized our license. I'm like, I am not compromising any of that, okay? And we went from not doing much of anything to them wanting us to do everything. And I'm like, no, make this make sense. And now we're starting to tap into the other licensed professionals who were credentialed in a different way that we weren't yet credentialed, weren't planning on being credentialed, okay, in this area. And that would have definitely put us in a really tough position. So we started documenting everything, me and this other girl, right? My coworker. Well, we were having all of these conversations and we decided, I don't care what they say. Document, document, document. Now, if you're a nurse, okay, if you're a nurse, you know one of the things that we learned first thing is nursing 101. Say it with me. If you don't document it, it didn't happen, right? If you don't document it didn't happen. So we were like, we're documenting everything, the date, the time, the place it happened, who was in the office, who was a witness, who observed it, who was a part of the conversation, who participated, who didn't, what people were wearing, where we, like everything mattered, all of the details, so that we would be able to go to the union if we needed to and present our case. We were already geared up for what could go wrong, okay? And so we were still keeping it cool, keeping it cordial. We had a new supervisor manager who was also, was she a nurse or a doctor? No, she worked closely with the doctors. She herself didn't even have the credentials that she needed to oversee us. So she didn't have a clinical background, nursing background, okay? She came from the pharmaceutical side and she was doing something else and nothing to do with nursing. So we were like, is she the right person for us to go to? Because she doesn't know half of what we're talking about when we're bringing certain issues to her. And that's problematic, right? So to speed up the story and make a longer story shorter, because I tend to make a long story long. So a longer story shorter, it turns out she didn't know what the hell she was doing. Let's just call a thing, okay? It just is what it is. She did not know. And we were not okay with that. So we approached her kindly, me and my trustworthy coworker, okay? Up until this point, she was. We were having lunch meetings about her. We were having lunch meetings about just everything that was going awry. To the left real quick. Me and her were meeting up places. I mean, literally, this girl and I were sharing notes for a test that we needed to take because we needed to be certified in some areas, right? Like diabetes education, and we had to get certified in different things, and case management and all of that. And it was a lot. So she and I would meet up and we would study together, and we would, we were pass notes. And even when she was on vacation, y'all, girl, let me just say, she would call me on her vacation with her husband and her family. Call me on her vacation, okay? Every day checking in. What's going on? What's happening? Did this happen? Did they change anything? Did they accept what you were saying? Did they read our letter? Because we were sending emails. We got the union involved. We started questioning things. We went to the doctors. We were like, this doesn't seem right. It doesn't feel right. We don't want to jeopardize our license. La, 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 la. Okay. Well, our boss got word of this, and she wanted to have a meeting, but she wanted to have a meeting with us together. Now, me and her met, and we had our one-on-one, and everything seemed to be cool. And then my coworker called, and I was saying, like, I don't know what's going on, but something seems strange. Now they're kind of telling me, they put me at an office finally, but now they're having me do these things. Like, it's like they're testing me, right? And I don't know why they wanted me to keep putting me in a position to fight them back, but that's the position I was placed in, and I wasn't having it. I was just like, no, this doesn't work for me. No, this is not right. No, I refuse to do this. It's, Now, mind you, I was still in my 90-day probationary period, or introductory period, if we wanted to call a probationary period something, nicing up the term. Either way, this is where you're testing the waters to see if this is right for you, and they're test driving you to see if you're a good fit for them, right? Now, the girl that was my coworker, while she was on vacation, all this was going on, she was checking in with me. I'm telling her what's going on, and she's like starting to get nervous. That doesn't feel right. I don't know if they are. Do you think they're trying to put us in a position where they want us to quit? Do you think they want to fire us? Like, what's really going on? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not really sure, but I'm just, I'm treading cautiously because, I'm not trying to lose my job, but I'm also just wanting them to do the right thing. The girl, my coworker, comes back from vacation. Okay, cool. And we are kind of like touching bases. She's coming into the office, but now she's having less to say. Now, we had our separate meetings, right? She had her one-on-one with our supervisor, our manager, and I had my one-on-one. But then when we came together, seems like, the conversation shifted a little bit. And I don't know, I couldn't quite pick up what I was feeling, you know what I'm saying? But I knew something was off. So they had us be off work for maybe, I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 3 days. And they gave us these assignments. So I'm thinking, okay, cool. They're just trying to figure things out still. We're still doing our training. We're going to different offices, and then we go back home. We go to the study site, and then we come back home or whatever. You know what I mean? And let's see what happened next. Okay. So what had happened next is I went in. So this was like the last time I had met with my coworker. We had made all of these plans. We got the union involved. We met with our supervisors separately and then together. We then said we were going to have a follow-up meeting on a particular day. So we set the date, and the coworker of mine had her follow-up meeting first. Now, I hadn't heard from her. It had been a week that had gone by. Mind you, this girl checked in with me every single day, several times a day, bitching, griping, complaining, moaning and groaning, giving pushback. We got to do this. We got to do that. We're not going to let them get away with that. No, F that. No, she wasn't cursing necessarily, but she had the F you attitude, like no, and no, we not having it. Okay. They not going to play in our faces like this. There's no way we're putting ourselves in this position. This was her energy, right? She was more in their face about it than I was. And mind you, I have a legal background. So I was like, well, this is what we can do legally, but do you want to go through this? Do you want to go through these extremes, or do you want to kind of mellow out right here and just like try to work with them? Because it seems like they're trying to work with us a little bit, and I don't want to like make too many waves where they're just like, no, you guys are problematic, and they give us the X, you know what I mean? Right? In other words, they cut us. And so she's like pushing really hard, and then all of a sudden she went silent. Now all of a sudden I'm not hearing from her. Now all of a sudden that she's met with the boss, she's not returning my calls. She's not, answering my text. She's not emailing me or responding to my emails. Now I'm feeling like I'm involved in this by myself. So one day, after like this week went by where I'm not hearing back from her, I went into the office on site, and I was preparing to, like literally go into the office, but I went in a little bit early. And I was, at the central location. And then I finally I got there like maybe an hour or so early, and then I was going to actually go to the office. Well, it was a day where they had given me an off day, but I didn't want to work from home that day because there was some things I needed to access, some resources I needed that were not readily available to me at home. And I wanted to just get out of the house. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go to the headquarters, work in the central hub, do some study time there, and let me jump on my computer. So, I got a laptop, all the equipment and everything they provided us with at the beginning when we first were hired. Got my badge, everything. And I was like, first of all, I couldn't get into the building or to the office space. And I thought, that's odd. Okay, something wrong with my badge. Let me keep swiping. Nothing was happening. So I got one of the girls, the receptionist, admin people, whatever, to open it for me. No problem. She let me in. She said, oh, well, we can maybe have you go down to security and they can probably take a look and fix it for you. But in the meantime, she was like, okay, but here's the room. I reserved it for a couple of hours and that's where I worked from. So I went and I got me a cup of tea. I got me some breakfast. I'm setting up shop. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to really get into this. I'm going to go ahead and lay low for a minute, and I'm not going to keep pushing back right now. Let me just see how they're going to move right now. And then, we'll deal with it step by step, day by day, because I'm too close to actually starting this role. And I want to go ahead and get started. Mind you, I'm still getting paid, right? So I couldn't get into my laptop. And I'm like, okay, this is really weird. Why can't I get into my laptop? Couldn't get into the building, couldn't get into the office space, couldn't get into now my laptop. What in the shenanigans is going on, okay? What in the corporate cutthroat America is going on, okay? And so I already have experienced something like this. No, actually, I'm going to take that back. I had never actually experienced it. I'm thinking of another position, but that came after the fact. I had never at this point have I experienced in my tenure of my career up until this point, never had I experienced not being able to get into my computer or swipe my badge and get into a building. Never before. So this was the first. Bells were going off. I was thinking, this don't feel right, don't seem right, something ain't right. I don't know what it is, but it hadn't dawned on me yet that this could potentially be a lockout, like permanently. So I was like, I know how I'm going to find out. Let me first call security, because I got a problem with my badge. I got a problem now getting into the computer. Oh, let me call the IT. I called IT, and IT started searching around saying, okay, well, wait, how do you spell your name again? Okay, wait, what is it? So wait, spell your name again. Let me repeat that back to you. Okay, what's your ID number? What's your all these questions. What's your date of hire? I'm just like, what the hell? I'm sorry. I'm not, first they didn't see me in the system. And then when they saw me in the system, they kind of got quiet. I was like, everything cool? You good? Did you find me? Can you unlock me? Can you just reset my password? You know what? I'm going to have to refer you over to HR. Let me go ahead and give you a number to call. Do you have that number handy? I'm like, why the hell are you referring me to HR? What does HR know about unlocking the system or resetting my badge? Or maybe they do reset the badge here. Okay, what does that have to do with? So I'm just like, okay. So as soon as he told me that, I'm like, okay, I know what's going on here. Okay, because I sat on the other side a few times of what this looks like. They locked me out intentionally because I'm more than likely fired. They terminated my position. So I'm taking some deep breaths. I'm preparing myself, and I'm like, okay, keep it cool, calm, and collective. Don't let them have it. We're going to go out with dignity. We already saw that this was a potential, this could potentially happen. All right. So HR calls me in, asks me to bring everything. They didn't say anything else. They set a time for me to come. They asked where I was located. I told them, where I was located. They was like, oh, okay, so you're on site. Well, let us arrange a time. We weren't expecting you right at this time, blah, 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 blah. Let's go ahead and get you scheduled, and you can come on in at this time, and we can, see what's what. Still not cluing me into what's going on, right? So I get there, and my boss is there, HR, the HR director, the HR rep, a union rep. I'm just like, okay, yeah. I got y'all's number. I see what's going on. They were just dancing around. They had written up this performance improvement, this corrective action plan of what needed to happen, and then they said, that I didn't abide by this. I'm like, well, this was first of all never presented to me. Okay, so that's first of all off a lie. Okay, this was never presented to me, and these problems were not this was not presented to me, period. So how am I going to fix a problem that I don't even know exists? You know what I'm saying? I wasn't even given the opportunity. So the my boss was there, red as she wanted to be, shuffling around in her seat, can't have any eye contact with me, looking around, looking all shady, looking uncomfortable. And I said, why are we doing this number here? Clearly y'all called me in to fire me. So why are we dancing around that? I said, I called her name to my boss. I said, is that why we're here? And she shook her head. I said, say it. Why can't you say it? If that's why you called me here, let's just get this out of the way. Go ahead and give me my walk-in papers. We don't need to do this number here. Okay? So, anyway, I was just really glad at that point. The bottom line is it led up to them giving me my walking papers. But check this out. Because I was within my 90 days, they have a rule, a written rule, a policy in their handbook, in their policies and procedures that I didn't happen to read. That's why you got to really do your due diligence and make sure you thoroughly read. And I'm all about thoroughly reading. I don't know how I missed this clause. But they had a code in a clause, with a code within their clause, in the handbook as well as in their policies and not in the handbook, I apologize, in their policies and procedures, their P&P manual, which was massive. Okay, this organization is huge. It was a massive book. It was no way I could have read through all the policies, and I had no reason to refer back to this particular policy. But when I actually read it, when they put this on my termination letter, it was a code that prevented me to not only ever be able to come back. Because one of the questions I always ask, and that you should ever ask if you're still in corporate looking for another job, or if you get terminated, you should always want to know, are you eligible for rehire? And they flat out said no, and confidently. And I said, well, how is that the case? I can rebuttal this because you guys never gave me any inclination or indication whatsoever that I was going to be terminated under these circumstances, because you never gave me an opportunity to correct the problem. And that's what is a part of the corrective action process. You have to first present the problem to the employee so they have an opportunity to correct the problem. And you never did. You're just now presenting me with this. But because I was within my 90 days, if I didn't pass my 90-day probation, why can't I say the word now? 90-day probationary, introductory, whichever word, I'll go with that, period, then they have the right to terminate me without me being eligible for rehire if they were to use this particular code that was within this small, fine printed clause, that not only can I not work for them at their particular location, but none of their locations across the nation. Now, how cutthroat is that? And to deepen the cut, to pour salt on the wound, I later found out I was getting calls from people who had found out that I had been let go. And there were a couple of people who called and, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can't believe this happened. I just heard what happened. Why did they do this? La, 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 la. Because these were individuals, by the way, that were scared to speak up, that we were speaking up for. We were advocating for them because they were also on the team. Some of them nurses, some of them just clinical staff, but they were like, we were their voices. And yet I was the one laid off, but the person, or fired, but the person who I trusted and who we were in cahoots, who we were meeting up and making these plans, and the main ringleader pushing back and pushing me to push back harder with her, was nowhere to be found. Never did she call and check on me. Never did she say she was sorry. Never did she ask if I needed anything. Never did. Mind you, this is the girl who checked in with me day to day, even while vacation with her family. But now she's nowhere to be found. She's not calling me. She's not checking in on me. She's not texting me, emailing me. She's not answering her phone. It goes straight to voicemail. All of this. I have no way to connect with her. And I was really pissed off, livid, like hurt, disappointed that this person would literally throw me under the bus. So she had gone into, I later found this out through a mutual connection, and she didn't want to stir up anything while we were both there because she knew we were working closely together. But now that I've been fired, she felt compelled to share with me that this is what had happened. And that she only knew this because she overheard conversations, because the girl was coming to her for certain things, asking questions, like really getting involved with the boss. And in order to save her, what? CYA, she C'd her YA, she C'd her A. You know what I mean? Covered your A, covered your AZZASS, your butt, your buns. Okay, just in case you never heard CYA. And she just basically threw me all the way under the bus. And because she had already been there for at least a year, the union protected her. And because she shared what we had planned and what we had worked on, and she offered some things that I had written up on our behalf and that sort of thing, she was able to save her position, even though she was a part of all of that. She put that all on me, that it was me who was leading this. It was my ideas. It was my pushing her. Like, she just lied. So I'm just here to tell you firsthand that I know for a fact you cannot at all think for 1 second that you can trust the coworkers, the employees that you work with, because no more than these jobs are loyal to you, neither are the employees who employ them. Or, right, the employers employ the employees, who neither one can be trusted. So when you think that I feel like I can trust this person and I'm going to share this with this person, just because you're in cahoots with them, just because you think or feel that you can share something with them, if it's personal, don't share it. If you're planning on leaving your job, don't share that. If you've started a business, don't share that. If you're growing your business, don't share that. Don't share anything you're doing on the side, anything you're planning, anything. Don't get in cahoots with people like that. Like, they will throw you under the bus in a minute. Okay? As long as it keeps them in the position where they can eat and feed their families, keep a roof over their head, keep their bills paid. They're not concerned about what's happening to you. Just so happens, though, just to wrap up the story, months had gone by, and I happened to be still going to doctors at this facility. Even though I wasn't working there, I still had benefits with them. And I won't even say months, I take that back, weeks had gone by. And I had an appointment, I had a follow-up appointment or two. And I went into my doctor's office, just a normal, routine checkup. And I also had, some problems that I was seeking some medical advice from my doctor about. And lo and behold, guess who I see? She was transferred. Yep, you guessed it. My colleague, my employee, or my coworker. She had transferred to another position. She was no longer working in that position. In fact, they did away with that pilot program altogether. So it ended up being that people were either terminated or replaced their position. They were repositioned within the organization if they were there long enough. So she chose to do clinical work at this particular clinic I went to. And she was not expecting to see me. You should have seen the look on her face when she saw me there. She tried to pretend that she was so involved in this conversation she was having with another employee. And I let it slide at first, but the next time I went back and saw her again, I made sure I made sure that I gave her a piece of my mind. Oh, she gave me every excuse in the book. Oh, now she's so embarrassed and she's so apologetic. And no, you just thought you would never see me again. But God don't like ugly. And I don't wish ill on nobody, but I know she was taken care of, because that's, whatever you do to somebody, it's already done to you. Karma is a bitch, okay? And I believe in the law of attraction. You can't do people dirty like that. And I know that came back for her. And I know when it did, the first person she was going to think about, or did think about, was me. But the moral of the story is, don't trust anybody. Okay? No coworkers, no bosses. I would not be going out to happy hours and having drinks and luncheons and all of this with them, potlucks and stuff. Keep work, and keep that separate from your personal life and your personal business and whatever other business matters you got going on, because it is none of their damn business. And that's all I have to say. I hope this has been valuable to you. And if it has, let me know if you're enjoying my corporate chronicle episodes, okay? My crazy corporate chronicles, because I do have so many crazy stories. I cannot make this stuff up. But that is the value and the message I want you to take with you today. And drop me some comments below and let me know if you've actually had anything happen like this to you anywhere, any kind of situation where it was close to what I just described, or if you know someone who went through something similar. Let me know in the comments below, okay? In the meantime and in between time, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you are getting value, and do share this video out with at least 3 people you know, okay? Now, I'm going to tune out while you tune in. Be sure to share this out with at least 3 friends, and do watch the next video that YouTube recommends, as always. And until next time, I am wholeheartedly in this journey with you. Bye for now.